What is life like as a Black lawyer at a big law firm? And specifically, what is life like as a Black lawyer at Haynes Boone? Today, we are joined by some exceptional attorneys who are going to shed light on what life is like as a Black lawyer, their obstacles, their successes, their support networks, and ways that you can enter the legal profession. For those of you who are new, my name is Sydney Montgomery, and I am the founder and executive director at Barrier Breakers, where we specialize in high touch admissions advising for aspiring law school students. And we also have a special focus in working with first generation and marginalized students. And that is why today we are so excited for this conversation with three attorneys at Haynes Boone that are all part of the Black Lawyers Alliance who are going to be shedding light on what life is like as a Black lawyer, what their experience was like entering the legal profession, what they overcame, their support networks and communities, and ways that Haynes Boone has supported their personal and professional growth. So let's dive in. Hello. Today we have the fortunate pleasure of being joined by three fantastic lawyers that are part of the Black Lawyers Alliance at Haynes Boone. All of them are in the Texas offices. They're in the Dallas and Houston offices. We have Janet Wise, Sean Lewis, and Khalil Bryant. They are going to introduce themselves and share just a little bit of their personal journey. So, first off, thank you all for being here today. If you could all just, like I said, introduce yourselves, let us get to know you a little bit more, and just share a little bit more about your personal journey to becoming a lawyer and what maybe inspired you to pursue a career in law.
I'm happy to start. My name is Sean Lewis, and I'm excited to have this discussion today and to touch on the various topics that we will. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, but I grew up in Virginia Beach, Virginia. Moved around a little bit because my dad joined the military later in life. But after high school, I went to Texas Tech for undergrad and law school, where I was involved on campus, student body president, and then right after my undergraduate degree, I went directly into law school at Texas Tech as well. And there I was involved with our Black Law Student Association. And during both my summers in law school, I did summer with Haynes and Boone. My first summer was more of a rotational program. And then my second summer, I was split between our restructuring group and our labor and employment group. And then I joined the firm in October of 2022 as a labor and employment associate. And so I'm just now entering my third year with the firm. And to your question about what inspired me to go to law school is that I've always had an interest in a desire to attend law, and I think it's most of it is rooted in my mother's encouragement based on my lack of being quiet as a kid. I was always talking and being active, and she, told me I ought to consider becoming a lawyer. And in addition to that, my parents were really focused on providing my sisters and me with school or with books. And I took an early interest in American political history, and then I found that in my studies and reading about various people along the way and across our history, a lot of them had law degrees. So um, I think my loquacious nature and my interest in history is what ultimately inspired me to go to law school.
I can go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Janet Wise. I am going into my second year at Haynes Boone. I'm in the Dallas office, and my practice group is the Mergers and Acquisitions and Private Equity Investments practice group. So I was born and raised in Lagos, Nigeria, lived there all my life up until going to college. And I went to college at St. Norbert College in De Pere, Wisconsin. After 4 years in college, I moved to Texas, and I went to Texas A&M School of Law, and that's where I got my law degree. So what really brought me, or I guess inspired me to be a lawyer, was wanting to advocate for people. I think one virtue that I always live by is hospitality. And like, I know different people have different definitions, but the definition that I stand by is giving back to people that can never pay you back. And so I strive to live by that and being hospitable to people. And I think in my career, I'm able to do so.
Yeah, and I'll wrap it. Hey, everybody. My name is Khalil Bryant. I'm a third year associate in the M&A and Private Equity Practice Group in our Houston office. I was born in Houston. I grew up in Jacksonville, Florida. Uh, Ended up going to New Jersey, where I attended Princeton University, where I played football and studied political theory. I know Sydney's a proud fellow Tiger alum, so go Tigers. Um, my political theory background, I focused primarily on Black political thought. And through my studies, I realized the transformative potential for the law if minority communities can use it to our advantage. A lot of the Black political theorists I studied had legal backgrounds. And also, when people talk about lawyers, oftentimes they understate the importance of being, an advisor and a counselor for people. Uh, my second career choice was to be a psychiatrist. So I think I've always found value in, talking with people, helping them find solutions to their problems. And so I think those two factors are what led me to, pursue law school. After undergrad, I worked as a political organizer in Philly while I studied for the LSAT, and I ended up landing at Vanderbilt Law School, where I received my JD as well as the law and business certificate. Transactional courses kind of came naturally to me, and my experiences over both summers with Haynes and Boone confirmed that the transactional practice was right for me. So I always knew I wanted to be in boardrooms, not courtrooms, and my transactional courses as well as my experiences as a summer associate confirmed that.
I love that phrase, boardrooms, not courtrooms. I may need to steal that.
Please
Go
do.
on.
So I want to ask each of you, and we can start with Janet and then go to Khalil and Sean. What are some unique challenges that you have faced as Black lawyers in the legal profession? How have you overcome them? And if there are any support systems, mentorships, communities, or organizations that were really crucial to your success as a Black lawyer, if you could share some of those with our audience as well.
Yes, I can go ahead. I think one major challenge is the lack of representation just in the legal field as a whole. And I think that just really plays a part in my day to day because I don't see a lot of people who look like me, or I can't see what my life is going to look like 10 years from now because there might not be somebody in that position. And I think that has definitely just it's played a huge part in just me being an attorney and me also wanting to stay as an attorney so I can be that representation for somebody else. I think one way that I have kind of like managed through that is reaching out to just different attorneys, using LinkedIn as a resource and getting their experiences wherever they are, and just seeing what it's like to be an attorney, to be a Black attorney specifically. I think some of the support systems I've developed include, or some of the groups that like constitute my support system, definitely family, and also in the Dallas community, there's the Jail Turner Legal Association. Met amazing people through that. At A&M, I was also part of the Black Law Students Association, and through that, there are alumni who've also been part of that. And that way, like we all stay connected, trying to help each other out. And there are also a lot of group chats, a lot of group me's locally, and I'm sure in other states as well. And so, just trying to get connected with those group chats and just people who look like you, who are sharing their experiences, who might bring you some clients, that has definitely helped as well.
Yeah, and for me, I would say one of the biggest challenges with being a Black attorney is just the fact that we are bringing, diverse, fresh perspectives that might challenge traditional ways of doing things. So oftentimes people cite, diversity as being an extremely valuable a- asset because it inspires, innovation, creative thought, uh, and it opens up people to broader perspectives. But while that's true and very, very so true, we'd be lying if we didn't say that, with those advantages that come with diversity, you'll often receive pushback from those people who are entrenched in power, who are resistant to fresh perspectives and change. And so that's been one of my biggest challenges, kind of just navigating that kind of tension. And I've realized that, communication is a two-way street. And so I've tried to do my best, though challenging at times, to open myself up, make myself vulnerable, and kind of just be willing to listen to perspectives that might challenge my own. At the end of the day, people of all races want to feel heard. And so I think by making myself vulnerable in that way and being a listening ear, it allows me to create I guess, a common ground where I can also present my diverse perspectives that they might not agree with in a way that's well received.
I think for me, it is very similar to what both Janet and Khalil said. Um, I'm first generation undergrad and law school. And so the lack of representation within this space can be daunting at times. You kind of feel like you're alone and feel like that no one has experienced the things that you've been through. And that's why I think it's so important to find your community and to pour into your community and lean on your community. And when you get to a place where you can be a beacon of strength for someone to lean on, it's important to do that as well. And so that's exactly what I've tried to do. I really lean on my friends and my family, Janet, Khalil, other attorneys at Haynes Boone and the Black Lawyers Alliance, and even folks who don't do, like Khalil is a transactional attorney, but we have shared experience, and Jen is a transactional attorney as well, but we have shared experiences that transcend our day to day work. And so, to Khalil's point about being vulnerable, I think that is so critical because it's only in vulnerability are you able to truly express what's going on and hopefully get some advice on how to navigate those experiences. So, in short, I really lean on my family, I lean on my significant other, I lean on the people on this call and the people in the broader um, Haynes and Boone community as well, and that has paid dividends to me.
Wonderful. I really appreciate you guys sharing transparently both the things that are struggles and the ways that you feel like you have community and you have support. I know a number of you mentioned the Black Lawyers Alliance. And before we dive into that, because I want to make sure that people understand what that is, I want to talk just broadly about Haynes Boone and firm culture and how Haynes Boone fosters diversity and inclusion within the firm. How have you seen those initiatives impact your work and the firm's culture as a whole? Before talking about the Black Lawyers Alliance, which I know is such a special part of what makes Haynes Boone special for marginalized and Black attorneys. So maybe Khalil, if you want to start, and then Sean and Janet, just talking a bit about Haynes Boone's firm ethos on diversity and inclusion and how that's impacted and supported your work.
Yeah, I'd be happy to touch on some of our, initiatives on that front. Diversity at Haynes and Boone is very much enforced or encouraged from the top down. So we have the DEI committee, I believe its acronym is DEIC, but that is composed of attorneys from all levels, as well as professional staff members, and we also have diversity professionals, and they help to lead our 10 inclusion networks, one of which is the Black Lawyers Alliance. And all attorneys, whether you kind of relate to an inclusion network or not, are encouraged to be active participants in our inclusion networks, whether it be as a member or as an ally. And so I think that's done a really great job for me personally. One, feeling comfortable with being comfortable in my own skin within the workplace, but it's also challenged me to open myself up to different demographics and listen to other people's kind of diverse perspectives, as I said before. I think generally that leads to a more inclusive, uh, better work environment, and I think that leads to better results. And as I said, I believe our leadership, starting with Sharon Jones, the DEI chair, as well as our board of directors who all serve as an executive sponsor for our inclusion networks. I believe all of them realize the value that diversity has, and so they're very intentional about encouraging and supporting those initiatives.
And I think the one thing, I think Lil summed it up really nicely, but one of the things I would add too is recognizing that it is important to allow people to have a space where they can share common experiences and recognize that um, not all diverse groups are the same, even though there are so many commonalities and common denominators between each. We're not a monolith, right? And so giving access to diverse perspectives and allowing each group to express themselves in a way that's important to their experiences and their cultures. And then the broader point that I'm really proud of the firm is that the firm recognizes that we've made a lot of progress, but there's so much more work to do. There's so much more progress to make. And it's every month I feel like we're talking about different things on how we can improve upon our efforts from a diversity perspective. But not only that, firm leadership is really receptive and hearing from associates on things that we can do better, different programming that we want to try. I have an open dialogue with our DE&I chief, Sharon Jones, where we're talking about programming and initiatives and conferences that would help our experiences. And I have found that to be really fruitful.
I think also just going back to Khalil's point about being intentional, the firm also sponsors like a number of events that emphasize the importance of diversity and inclusion. So like Jill Turner, the Black Lawyers Association in Dallas that I mentioned, the firm sponsors the Jill Turner Gala literally every year. So I think that's also one way that Haynes Boone has shown their commitment to diversity and inclusion.
And Sydney, if I can just add one thing, because I think this is uh, indicative of how serious our firm leadership takes it. We also are able to credit hours that we spend towards diversity initiatives, whether that be mentorship, recruiting, or integration. We're able to credit that as billable hours up to a certain amount, and we receive a bonus, a separate diversity based bonus based on our initiatives that our involvement in diversity initiatives. So I think that's really demonstrates how the firm kind of puts their money where their mouth is in terms of really wanting to prioritize those types of initiatives.
I hope you all get to bill hours for this hour that we're spending recording because I think this is a worthwhile diversity initiative for our audience. So we appreciate it. Let's talk about the Black Lawyers Alliance. You guys have mentioned it several times. I don't know who wants to take this question, but just give us an overview of what it is. What does it do? How does it support Black attorneys at the firm? Is this something all firms have, to your knowledge, that you know? Let's just share a little bit of information and shed a little light on that for our students.
I'll take that.
I
So the
don't know
Black
which one
Lawyer,
of you knows more about it than others.
yeah. I'll take it. I'll try to start off. So our Black Lawyers Alliance is, as I mentioned, one of 10 diversity inclusion networks. Other examples include like the Hispanic Latinx Network, the AAPI Network, Working Parents Network, Veterans Network. Really, it covers a lot of different types of networks. But BLA is one of those 10 inclusion networks. And what we're focused on doing is really creating a sense of community and mentorship among our Black attorney ranks. We're small but growing very quickly, and so it's our goal that we can create an environment where people feel welcomed in our firm and want to stay. And so that looks that takes a lot of different forms, I should say. One, we have, for example, the BLA retreat that's coming up this weekend, actually, where all of us will be flying to Dallas, which is where our headquarters is located, and kind of to one, launch our BLA mentorship program, but also to kind of brainstorm about different initiatives and what the firm can be doing better to support our Black attorneys. And so, really, it's all about integration as well as inclusion, right? Making sure that everyone feels welcome and able to succeed in their own skin.
Yeah, and then I think it's every other year, we have a diversity retreat. I think it's right, where all folks of the networks, inclusion networks that Khalil talked about, we get together. We have programming about not only our experiences as diverse attorneys, but the business of the law firm, different breakout sessions on partnership track and how to become a partner or counsel, or just various different topics. But I would say, with respect to BLA, the Black Lawyers Alliance, on a fundamental level, um, it is a way and a space for us to get together and to talk about our experiences and to give advice. I think we do varying forms of programming, big ones like Khalil's talking about that's coming up this weekend, but also a dinner where we're all sitting around the table at a restaurant in town, and we are hearing from a partner talk about their experiences coming up in the law, or a trial that they did, or how they navigated certain situations, or where they go to get their haircut. I mean, it's just very, it's a range of topics, and that's my favorite form of programming, because it's in those relaxed settings where not only am I learning, but I'm building camaraderie with my colleagues, and that just makes our experiences that much easier and beneficial.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I think even just the support that the BLA offers doesn't start when you just come into the firm as a first year attorney. It starts from being a summer. So I know, as a 2L summer associate, I had the opportunity to network and meet with everyone in the Black Lawyers Alliance at Haynes Boone, which I think was an incredible opportunity. Just so coming in as a first year attorney, I already had a network of people that I knew shared my similar experiences and could form a community for me.
Thank you. So I want to know a little bit about how Haynes Boone has specifically contributed to your personal and professional growth, and any unique opportunities that the firm has that stands out to you. I know a lot of our students are thinking about different firms. Some may be like, they all seem the same. So I just want them to hear from you how you feel like specifically Haynes Boone has developed your personal and professional growth. Janet, we can start with you, and then Sean and Khalil.
Yeah, I think one thing that really stood out to me from when I was a summer was having partners who were really invested in my growth and development. Unfortunately, as a transactional attorney, law school doesn't really prepare you for practice. And so just coming in as a first year attorney, you're really nervous. You don't know what you're doing. You haven't seen a lot of the things that you're about to see. And so just having people who are willing to take you on, people who are willing to mentor you, people who are willing to break things down in a way that a first year associate could understand, I think was something that was very important to me. And I saw that right from the jump of from being a summer associate. I think Hainsman also offers, the pro bono program. I think, coming into practice, I definitely knew, as I mentioned before, I wanted to give back to people who couldn't pay me back. And so I know the pro bono, our pro bono program is one way that is a great way to do that. And so through this program, I've worked on family cases, divorce cases, asylum cases, just a range of cases where you are able to impact people's lives, which I think was absolutely amazing. And I think also just the camaraderie of the firm and being able to reach out to people, ask questions when you're confused. People are very willing to help. And I think that has also just made me develop as a person. Like, I'm going to have juniors coming under me. I want to do the same things that people did for me, which is support people, help them learn, help them grow as much as I can.
Sorry, I would say one of my favorite aspects of the firm in terms of the culture is it being very entrepreneurial. We are a relatively young firm as compared to other firms out there, and the firm has been able to grow and have such a big impact and imprint in such a small amount of time. And I think that's due to our entrepreneurial nature, and that that nature and culture has transcended, I think, to associates where there are plenty of times where I would go raise my hand for something, or I would find a conference or an area of the law that's interesting, and the company, or excuse me, the firm asks, "What can we do to support you? How can we help?" And whether that is paying for registration fees, or sponsoring the conference, or connecting me with other people who they know at the firm who have a shared interest in something that I'm interested in. But to your point about our audience and law students who are thinking about joining various law firms, I think another benefit of being at a firm like Haynes Boone is that it is large, and we do have a lot of attorneys who have experiences in various different things, and so just the resources of our collective community, where I can be put in touch with someone in our New York office, our Mexico City office, our London office, who may have experience in something that I'm interested in. Having so many diverse perspectives is really rewarding, and it's something that has paid dividends for me specifically.
Yeah, and I think Janet and Sean's answers were perfect. They're so complete that I'll just add on to what they said. To Janet's point, I think what one thing that's really special to me about the Haynes Boone culture is the mentorship culture that takes both formal and informal forms. But as a 1L summer associate, when you join the firm uh, as a summer associate, you'll get the opportunity to rank practice groups, depending on which office you are in. This looks a little bit differently, but you'll be given the opportunity to rank practice groups, and you'll be assigned two associate mentors and one partner supervisor from whichever practice groups you choose. And those people are tasked with meeting with you on a weekly basis, making sure you're getting the work you want, making sure you're meeting the people you want to meet, and just making sure you're having an overall fulfilling experience. That mentorship program progresses throughout the 10-week 1L summer associate experience, and then continues as a 2L throughout those 10 weeks, and then starts again as an entry level associate, assuming you join the firm as an entry level associate. And so I think that really does create a firm culture of mentorship. And sort of like Janet said, it does make you eager to pay it forward to more junior team members, because you're able to benefit from that investment that your colleagues are making into you. And so Haynes Boone does a great job of investing in the people that are within its walls, rather than always looking, for outside help. And I think that's an example of that is how last year, a partner class, I think a large majority, I want to say 71% of the people that made partner started their careers at Haynes and Boone as either as a summer associate or as an entry level attorney. And so I think that is something that's super unique to Haynes Boone, because often big law firms will employ, like a burn and churn type of model, where they're not necessarily invested into the long term development of their attorneys.
Yeah, I think that is really important to note, and a really good segue into talking about the 1L summer program that Haynes Boone has, which I know is your flagship summer associate program. So I'd love to just have you talk a bit about what the program is, when does it start? I know applications are opening soon. What sets it apart from other summer programs that other law firms might have? Sean, if you want to start, and then Khalil and Janet, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, happy to start. I love recruiting, and our summer program is just one of those things that brings me a lot of joy throughout the year. And I do a lot of recruiting around the country with both Khalil and Janet. And so we have a 1L program, and then we also have a diversity program, a diversity scholarship that you can apply to, but you're still a part of the full 1L program. And then we have a fast track program as well, which is a week long um, opportunity for you to basically intern with the firm for a week, and you do different programming, and it happens after our summer program. And so our full summer program is 9 weeks long, and you are in one of our various offices around the country, and you go through the program, you apply, you interview. The recruiting schedule has changed a lot, frankly, this year, where law firms are recruiting earlier and earlier. When I went through, I think applications open up December 1st. Um, and I made sure I submitted all my applications really early. I think I submitted my applications even before I took a single final. Um, like I said, that schedule has since changed, but do talk to your recruiting office, or excuse me, your career services office, and talk to various law firms or lawyers that you know, and just get a insight as to what the timeline is. But as a general matter, it's really helpful to get your application in sooner rather than later. But to the substance of the summer program, once you are accepted and you join us for the summer as a 1L summer associate, you rotate through various groups. So you're assigned a supervisor and you're assigned two mentors, 1 to 2 mentors. It just depends. And the supervisors making sure as an initial matter that you have work, and your mentors are there and put in place to help you source work and connect you with other people around the firm or other work that may be of interest to you, because as a summer or as a 1L, we recognize that you don't have a lot of experience in the law firm market or about various practice groups. So you don't necessarily know where to start. And that's where I was. You'll go to various receptions and attorneys may ask what type of law that you're interested in. And it's okay if you don't know. I didn't know, frankly. And so that's why for our 1L program, we really want to expose first year summer associates to as many practice groups and subject matters as possible. I always like to tell people, try a little bit of litigation, try a little bit of transaction, try a big group, try a small group, just so you can get a feel of what vibe works best for you, because we're all different. And then that is our 9-week summer program. And then we have Fast Track, where folks are here in our Dallas office for about a week, and they do like mock negotiations and things like that. And they're meeting a lot of folks, and that's an opportunity for them to be selected for our 2L summer program as well. And as a 2L, the summer split in half between two practice groups. And the idea is at the end of your summer, you kind of give us your preferences. We see what needs the firm has, and we put you in a group that works well, both from a personality and also a need fit, because the last thing we want is to put you in a group where there's not work, and that just leads to problems down the road. And so as a 2L summer associate, the summer split in half and you rotate. And in each group, you have a different set of mentors and supervisors.
Yeah, and just to add a little bit to that, Sean did a great job at summarizing the opportunities. I just want to add that our fast track program is also offered in our New York office. I believe that one is rather than being a prolonged, week, I think it's just over a long weekend or over a weekend. And like Sean mentioned, that's just an opportunity for you to get exposure to our attorneys in the New York office, kind of get a feel of what the Haynes Boone culture is like, participate in maybe like a mock negotiation and cool projects like that. But really, it's meant to be like a weekend long interview where you get exposure to our culture, we get exposure to what makes you special as an individual, and we see if there's any synergy there. We also have the IP specific summer program, which is offered in select offices. Uh, they need candidates need a technical background to participate in that. So that opportunity is limited, like I said, to individuals with certain backgrounds in certain offices. And then last thing I wanted to add to what Sean said is, in addition to our traditional summer program, we also have the diversity scholarship program, which mimics the traditional summer program, is offered to all individuals, all candidates, and it gives you the opportunity to get a little extra change in your pocket, a diversity scholarship, as well as different mentorship opportunities throughout the summer.
Yeah, I think Khalil and Sean probably covered all that I could talk about, but I think just the summer program is just a great opportunity to, one, learn the different types of practice areas. I remember just coming into law school and thinking like there were only 2 practice areas I go into, but when you work at a firm like Haynes Boone, you have numerous opportunities. And so that summer program is really just taking the opportunity to know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And so it's also a reminder just to keep an open mind and try just literally every and anything, even the things that you think you don't like, just so at the end of the program, you can make an informed decision on the type of practice of law you want to go into.
I think making an informed decision is so important. I think one of the questions that listeners might have, I think many people are familiar with the summer program, and generally what a summer program has, but this fast track situation does not seem very typical. So, is it the same application process? Is it more competitive than a full summer program? Less competitive? Do you do a summer program somewhere else and then do this fast track? Is it only available for those that do the summer program at Haynes Boone? Just how does that work in the greater ecosystem of, I guess, the job economy as a law school student?
Yeah, I'm not sure in terms of, I'm pretty sure when you apply to the full summer program, you're also considered for fast track as well. And then depending on interviews and what the firm decides, you can do either program. And that's a decision that the firm makes after you interview and you provide your transcripts and things like that. A lot of students, they have interned elsewhere. They've had full summers at other law firms, big, small, government, nonprofit, various different places. And then after they conclude, because it is, I would say, in Kaluk and Janet, correct me if I'm wrong, it's pretty much like the 10th week at any other summer program. So it's just that week is spent here in Dallas or in New York, if it's over the course of a weekend. Um, and you are consider based on your experience and the work that you do during that period, whether it's the weekend or the full week, you're considered for a 2L summer associate position the very next year.
Yeah, I'm fresh off the recruiting trail, so I'll add a little details to that. I actually think our fast track program this year in Dallas looks a little bit different, where Sean's right. We do have the week at the end, but I believe there's also either a week or weekend at the beginning of the summer program. But Sean's very much correct that it's unique because it allows you to go explore a different firm, a different job, professional opportunity, whatever that may look like. And we're so confident in the culture at Haynes and Boone that we're like, come chill with us for a weekend or a couple weeks, and we promise you'll want to come back. And so I think that's really cool that it allows people to kind of be flexible, and it speaks to the confidence that Haynes Boone has in the culture that we're building here. For the interview process, I think it might be a little different. I think the application process is the same, but the interview process is largely based on the social events that we host on different law school campuses, whether that be a mixer or a Zoom meet. And oftentimes we use those, or we also have holiday events called Home for the Holidays, where we invite people that are home for their holidays and one of their respective offices to come in and network over a holiday mixer. And I believe our offers for the fast track program largely stem from those networking events rather than a formal interview process where they'll fly you into whatever office and you'll talk to 20 different attorneys and things like that. So I think the interview process is a little shorter, but the application process is largely the same. And I say all that just to encourage people to be on the lookout for the opportunities on your respective campus or in your respective city, and make sure you take advantage of those so that you can be considered for the fast track program.
And do you
And
have to do, sorry, go ahead.
no, please go ahead.
Do you have to do the fast track program in order to get a 2L offer, or could you just be in the regular 1L summer program, not do fast track, and still get a 2L offer?
Yeah, I would say that most of our 1Ls, we're really proud of our summer program and the programming that we put on. Um, Almost all of our 1L summer associates return for the 2L program. So doing the fast track program is not the only way to return. You do, if you're a summer associate, either in the IP program or diversity scholar or in the 1L summer associate program, you have the opportunity to return as a 2L as well. And to Khalil's point, the only other thing I would add, and did a wonderful job, is even if you are you don't have law firms coming to your campus, because a lot of big law firms didn't come to my campus. I would just say if you're interested in a particular city, Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, New York, or otherwise, just do some research on the type of law firms that are there in your city and just go to their website. And a lot of the times you'll have events are posted on the website, or you can get some more information about a law firm that you may be interested in just by looking at their website. And if they don't have anything on their website, they should, or we hope that they have a recruiting contact or a recruiting email that you can say, hey, I'm interested in law firm X, Y, and Z. But do you have any upcoming events that I can be mindful of? Because I'd love to attend and learn more about the firm. And that will go a long way. And you will be able to get more opportunities that way instead of relying on or just relying on the pool of firms that come to your law school.
Mm-hmm.
And also, just to add to that, I didn't do fast track, and I also wasn't a 1L summer associate. I was still trying to figure out what type of law I wanted to go into. And so I was only a 2L summer associate. Just to give some perspective, like even if you didn't do fast track, or you weren't a 1L or 1L summer associate, or you were still kind of like trying to figure things out, that's always an option you can apply as a 2L. And I think also another way, just to, I guess, have access to applications. I know there's the National Black Law Students Association. And so with that association, there are regional associations. So I was on the board for the Southwest Black Law Students Association, and I was the job fair coordinator in Haynes Boone. When I reached out to them, I'm like, hey, I really need an employer. This is targeting Black students, Black law students. And they were more than willing to be an employer at this job fair that I literally was planning. So I think being on the lookout for various job fairs. There are many that are going on, and Haynes Boone is a participant in these job fairs, and they're looking for you. So just to add to that.
Oh, that's very helpful, and helpful to know that there are multiple entry points, because I think sometimes, especially with how early 1L recruitment has moved up, it can feel like, oh my gosh, I may have missed something because I didn't know, especially if you're a first generation student. But I think the other question I get from a lot of students is just what substantive work can you expect over your 1L summer? What mentorship and training can you expect over that 1L summer, whether it's your 1L summer or maybe your 2L summer? And if there's a difference in the type of work or in the type of mentorship, training, or support that the summer associates receive, just so that they can get a picture of what it really means to be a summer associate. Maybe we can start with Janet, and then we can go with Khalil and Sean.
I think Sean and Khalil kind of talked about this previously, but as a 1L, you're not in a specific practice group. And so you get to experience just different practice groups, whether that's the litigation practice group, real estate, M&A. And so specifically for M&A, you can help with drafting just various transactional documents, even as a 1L. Obviously, you're going to have people supervising you and are going to be available to help answer questions. But I think as an M&A summer, that's something you can definitely help with. And as a 2L, it's kind of like very similar. Also helping form a company. That's something you can definitely help with as a summer associate, and just drafting the various formation documents. So as they mentioned earlier on, as Sean and Khalil mentioned earlier on, when you're at 2L, you split between two practice groups. I split between the corporate practice group, which was corporate at the time, but now it's M&A, and there's the capital markets, which are two separate practice groups. So I split between that and then the healthcare practice group. And so in M&A, I was doing the things like researching. Researching is also a big thing. Just as a summer, you can get a question from a client and they need a summer to help research. So that's really an opportunity to show what you can bring to the table. In law school, you learn how to use Westlaw, you learn how to use LexisNexis, you learn how to use Google. So just being able to utilize the little skills that you do have and showing that in your work product at Haynes Boone is an opportunity you're going to be given. So I think those are just the various things you're able to work on.
Yeah, I agree with all of those points. I think the work that you're assigned as a 1L or 2L summer associate will largely mirror the work that you're expected to be able to do as a first year associate. And so I think that's really cool because it gives you a realistic look at what a day-to-day practice as a attorney actually looks like, which as a law student I had no idea until I gained that exposure. And Janet mentioned how she's in the M&A practice group. I am as well. This might differ for litigation practices, but I generally like to think of those responsibilities of a junior associate in three buckets. So due diligence, which is, like Janet mentioned, that will oftentimes be research, securities filings, reading through pretty much any contract or document that the company has ever signed, really identifying red flags or missing materials, things like that. The second bucket is ancillary agreements, which oftentimes we won't be tasked with drafting the main document or the purchase agreement, but we will be tasked with drafting some of those supporting documents, whether it's like a bill of sale or an assignment agreement or an officer certificate, or really the list goes on, as well as disclosure schedules, which go along with kind of the due diligence aspect. And then in the third bucket, I would say is project management. That's really making sure as a junior associate that you're helping the deal move forward at all times. As M&A associates, we oftentimes have like 10 different specialist groups we're trying to communicate with, as well as the other side, as well as the more senior team members in the M&A group. And so it's a lot of different parties to be keeping going in the same direction, as you can imagine. And as a junior associate, you're often tasked with being the one that kind of rallies the troops and makes sure that everyone's keeping their eyes on the prize. And so I think those three buckets are how I like to describe the responsibilities of a junior associate. And I think what makes Haynes Boone unique is that you get exposure to all three buckets of work very early on, even as a 1L summer associate.
I think they summed it up perfectly.
I love it. Before I ask our final question, which is just generally what advice do you have for our students who are listening, who are aspiring attorneys, I did want to just logistically circle back to the application process for the 1L summer program. Where do they apply? When do they apply? I know that on the website there is information on the summer associate program and the 1L nationwide panel series that I want to call out, which is fantastic information for anyone that's looking for more information on Haynes Boone, different panels that are put together that you can learn more about the firm. But where and how do students actually, and when do students actually apply for the 1L summer programs?
I think the website is a great place to start, like you mentioned, Sydney, just to learn more about the opportunities that we do offer. I believe the application process link will also be on the website, though it won't go live till later this week, actually on November 1st. So I'd encourage students to keep an eye on the website. And as Sean mentioned earlier, the earlier you apply, the better. So if you can get that thing submitted as quickly as possible, it will increase your likelihood that you hear back from kind of firm leadership who has a say in hiring.
Yeah, there's a 2025 summer opportunities brochure that's on the website. If you go to our website and then click for the summer associates or summer program, and that's a great place to start. It's going to have a lot of the information, the people to reach out to, necessary deadlines, and those deadlines can change depending on, or can be different depending on office or program. So just, I
Mm,
don't want to misquote. So just go to the website, check that out, and then if you have any questions, reach out to some of the contacts in that brochure.
I love it. Thank you. Well, yes, to wrap everything up, why don't we go Janet and then Sean and Khalil? Just any last piece of advice that you have for aspiring attorneys, current law school students who are figuring out their path, figuring out if they want to do firm life, what firm, where to go, where to land, anything, especially like I said, if it's another Black attorney or Black law school student who's trying to just feel supported on this journey.
Yeah, I can go ahead. I think one thing as a law student, as a student, as someone who's considering even going into the practice of law, is just keeping an open mind to just the various possibilities. There are numerous possibilities in this practice that one thing can be for you. Multiple things can be for you, actually. So I think just maintaining an open mind as you go through life, and being open to being challenged. Also seeking out things that are gonna, I guess, identifying your weaknesses and seeking out opportunities that are going to turn them into strengths. So if you are somebody who doesn't like public speaking, seek out an opportunity that requires you to do that. I think in law, you're definitely going to be challenged in multiple ways. And so you really want to, get a head start on that. What are the things that you think you can work on, whether that's in college or in high school, just whatever area of life, the things that you think you can work on and that you need help with, I would definitely start seeking opportunities to do so. Another thing I was going to mention is just reaching out to people, networking. Networking is a huge thing in law, in life. reaching out to people on LinkedIn. I have had numerous law students that I don't even know, I've never met, just reach out to me on LinkedIn. And it just shows a willingness to want to be open and you want to learn. I think that's something that's really important, is just wanting to, just being curious about just the things in life and finding your path for you. And the best way to do that is by talking to people who are in that same field. I think also just talking to people from different backgrounds. So like we said, sometimes you're going to be in rooms where there's somebody who doesn't look like you, or somebody who doesn't speak like you, or somebody who doesn't share your same experiences. So if you start earlier on with life, just communicating and interacting with people from diverse backgrounds, you're going to learn and be able to adapt to just different situations. So keeping an open mind, being curious, and talking to people.
I would just say, in addition to the great things that Janet said, I would just remember to give yourself grace. You are navigating this for the first time. It is going to be difficult. There will be times where you feel unsure or you question if this is the right journey for you. And 9 times out of 10, 9.9 times out of 10, you are on the right path. And just recognize that a lot of the time is simply about putting one foot in front of the other and recognizing opportunities of growth. And then if you find those opportunities for growth, then just take stock of what you're doing. Maybe you just make a slight modification. Or I think the first place to start is to lean on your network, lean on the people around you who have supported you along the way, and just get a pulse check, and recognize that the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year will be better, because that's what progress is about. But it will take you being intentional about that and being in tune with where you are, being honest with yourself and the things that you're doing and the things that you may not be doing. And then the other thing, I'm a firm believer in exposure and putting yourself in environments where you can learn, environments where you may not have come from or you may not be used to, because I think that's the way that we learn. You don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you should know. And so developing the ability to ask great questions will take you a really, really, really long way. And if you reach out to someone, do a little bit of research on them, see what deals they've done, see what previous law firms or experiences that they have, so that you can go into the conversation with a game plan on information that you want to learn, things that you want to pick their brain about. And I promise that you will find those conversations to be much more beneficial than just going in and relying on them to provide a game plan for your life. You'll be in the driver's seat, and you'd be surprised where that takes you.
All great points. I would just add really three things. I think Janet and Sean did a great job of kind of explaining the importance of embracing being uncomfortable. And naturally, as a minority, you will be uncomfortable. Uh, Everyone's uncomfortable, regardless of what they look like, regardless of their background. You'll notice as you kind of proceed through your journey, everyone's scared, whether they say it or not. So never let, that fear, that sense of being uncomfortable hinder you from performing. And one way I'm able to do that is to always remind myself that, we're all humans. Anything you're feeling inside of you, other people are feeling inside of themselves, whether that's being nervous for a big exam or being nervous for a job interview. Really embrace being uncomfortable and that feeling of fear, because like they say, there's no courage without fear. And so the only way that you can ever grow as an individual is if you continue to kind of push that limit and continue to put yourself in those situations. My second one is, and I know Janet and Sean are tired of hearing this because we've been on a lot of panels together, but I always paraphrase Kobe Bryant, and he says, enjoy the journey. Don't get so caught up in the results. And I think that's really important to remember, particularly for ambitious individuals such as ourselves and such as yourselves. If you're always looking at the next milestone, you'll fail to enjoy the moment. And so it's a great privilege to be a student, whether that's a college student, high school student, law student. Great privilege to be an attorney. I've been dreaming of being an attorney since I was a little kid. So I always remind myself, uh, regardless of what's on the horizon, I need to, be present in the moment. And my friend told me this earlier. He said, plan the future, but don't live there. And so that's my second point I'd give. And my third point, which is I think some of the best advice I've ever gotten, is focus on proving those that believe in you right, rather than focusing on proving your doubters wrong. And I think that's incredibly empowering to 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 take on life in that way, because you have a bunch of people that are looking to you as role models, a bunch of people who are, cheering for you from the sideline and who want to see you succeed. Well, it's easy to, focus on those, and there's a lot of external factors, particularly as a minority attorney, that will hinder your success. Well, it's easy to focus on those things. I always find it motivating to remember, the people who are cheering for me and the people whose shoulders I'm standing on. Sorry. And so I just encourage you to always lean on whatever community that is. Lean on whatever community that is, and whether that be your colleagues, such as Sean and Janet, they're some of my biggest cheerleaders, and they're some of my biggest motivators when I'm having a long day. I remember those people that are trying to accomplish the same thing that I'm trying to do, and lean on that community. No, it won't be easy. No, you'll fail at times, like Sean said, but give yourself grace and keep going.
Amazing. Khalil, I feel like you're full of so many quotables. I mean, you all are,
It really
Sean,
is.
and
Yeah.
I'm writing them down. I'm writing them down. Um, but I just can't thank the three of you enough for taking the time to speak to our students, to help students as they're navigating their career path, and to share a little bit of your journey. I know that our students really appreciate it. We here at Barrier Breakers appreciate it. Haynes Boone has been one of our longest law firm partners on this journey. This is such a privilege to be able to work alongside a firm that really values diversity, equity, and inclusion, and really values the work that we're doing with students and in higher education broadly. So thank you so much for your time and commitment. And we can't wait to see if any of our students end up working at Haynes Boone and joining you guys, and they might be on the panel next year or the year after.
There you go.
Yes, claim it.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. Weren't our panelists amazing? I am so grateful that they took the time to speak with us. I hope this video was helpful to you, or this podcast episode. If you are listening, make sure that you share it with a friend, share it with your community. If you're in law school, share it widely with your Black Law Students Association and maybe other affinity groups, or anyone that's interested in Haynes Boone. You can find out more on their website. They have offices in a variety of locations, and they are a fantastic place to get your legal start. If you have questions that you want us to answer, you can always submit questions to bit.ly/break into law school. Also, you can just leave us a comment below or send us an email. What questions do you want us to answer? What topics do you want us to answer about the law school application process, life as a lawyer, and anything in between? We hope that you are subscribed. Make sure that you rate and review, subscribe, and follow, and we will see you here next time.